Well, USC Beaufort has one of the oldest traditions of higher education in the American South, in fact, in the United States. It goes back to the 18th century. And the trustees that were established at that time in order to create the college and direct the college still exist as a corporate body. It's one of the oldest corporate bodies in Beaufort. The Beaufort College Trustees, they're called, and they still meet every year. So it was a very distinguished old institution, and it reflected the great wealth of the Sea Island cotton planters.
In 1959, my colleagues from Beaufort County and I introduced the legislation to establish the University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
When USC Beaufort opened in 1959, there were 30,000 people in the whole county.
Well, there were no higher educational facilities between Charleston and Savannah.
It was only 3 years after the opening of the first bridge to Hilton Head Island.
We began as a faculty of something like 11 or 12 full-time with a number of adjuncts.
Through the 1960s and 1970s, we had a relatively small number of full-time students and a very large number of part-time students.
And we had service people, Marines and young sailors there at the Naval Hospital Beaufort and Marine Corps Recruit Depot Beaufort and then the air station.
My late friend Dave McCullum was our biology professor, and he developed this loggerhead turtle watch program, and he's the guy that got us Pritchard's Island. I never saw him happier than the day he and I drove back from Columbia after making a deal for Pritchard's Island. It was an institution in transition, and Beaufort County was a county or a region in transition.
Anybody that's had the benefit of higher education recognizes how important it is in your life.
When I attended the University of South Carolina in Beaufort, I was just 17, and I knew I wanted to go to college, but I needed to work.
Most of us were non-traditional students, some of us with children, some of us older.
And USCB afforded me both opportunities, opportunity to work full-time and to go to school full-time.
So the bond was really strong. My house was kind of the hangout place. I had food because I had kids. And so we'd study, and my children would sit and do their homework at one table while our study group did our homework at the other table.
The part-time adult students that we had wanted to be there, very often were paying for it themselves, cared about what was happening in the classroom.
I love the sense of shared ownership. I love the sense that the professors actually cared. They wanted me to succeed. They let me know that.
That individual attention and getting with the professor who knows you instead of being just one of a number.
It was an intimate institution. You knew all the students pretty well. The students certainly knew all the faculty well.
It was a two-year college then, and it was viewed as a feeder for the University of South Carolina, the Columbia campus.
Although this campus had less than 1,000 students, I felt at ease going to the larger campus, which had well over 20,000 students at that time.
It was a good institution, even though it was small and not particularly well-funded. I mean, we were sort of a forgotten corner of the university system.
I can't think of a happier place. We have perfect climate and absolutely any opportunity for outdoor experience you want to have.
And you lived in a paradise. You were able to go to school at a place where you would rather play than work.
And then we recognized as we began to get it started that how important it would be to have a four-year degree-granting institution here. Helen served about 13 years on the Board of Trustees of the university. So she was able to introduce the resolution about going 4 years.
Because of the distance from Columbia, when USC Beaufort was a part of the regional campus system, it was always their vision to become a baccalaureate institution.
We were here essentially to provide general education with the hope and expectation that by doing so we would attract a following which eventually would lead into a 4-year status.
We saw that the opportunity was here to build a campus, build this fine campus. So we were anxious to help financially and in any other way we could to get it started.
It began in 2000 with the public forum, where a group of citizens in Beaufort had invited everyone in the state who would touch that decision.
And I remember we had public hearings over in Beaufort City, and people would comment that, oh, we don't need a university here. We're happy sort of with the way things are.
Anytime a regional campus attempts to step out, there's always a little bit of skepticism. But in this case, the board heard us and understood that what we were trying to do was to make the university's presence greater in southern Beaufort County.
And different people, one right after another, testify to how there's a need for the university to be here.
At a place, like Michigan State, where I'd been before, it's very easy for departments to become factionalized, and one group wants to do this and another group wants to do that. And here the faculty was absolutely united about getting this school to become a 4-year school.
Jane Upshaw, Dick Stewart, and I spent many hours together in the car, making presentations and planning who was going to say what when.
It was a fun time to take that message across South Carolina, but it was also an incredible time locally to see this region come together and to have a plan that involved both Beaufort and Jasper County.
Now, not everyone believed it was going to happen, I discovered once I came here. There were a few folks with that sort of Eeyore voice, would say, oh, it's never going to happen. We've been trying to do this for 20 years. It's never going to happen. And that scared the heck out of me because, of course, I had come down here to make that happen.
We began going around the state with a group of external supporters. Wes Jones and Dick Stewart chaired the Citizens Task Force for Baccalaureate Status.
We had a tumultuous several years of travel and meeting with various state boards.
We went to see Senator Hugh Leatherman, who was chair of the Senate Finance Committee.
The county council.
David Wilkins, who was Speaker of the House.
The Board of Trustees of the University in Columbia.
So that we could gain the support of all of those entities that were important in the decision-making process.
And I mean, the demographics changed, the leadership changed, the financial situation changed.
But when it started coming together, it was like a dream come true, just for the few named and so many more unnamed.
And it happened so fast. That's one of the most startling things. I think it would be so hard for folks to realize that folks had been struggling for years and years and years, really decades, to make this happen.
It was also the blessing of a wonderful leadership that allowed things to happen.
And then suddenly, overnight, you have this new campus, and suddenly you have these degree programs, and you're hiring new faculty, and you're growing your student body, and it really was just the blink of an eye. It was magical.
It's very rewarding to see how the model that we used can work.
That is a story about local support that will be a part of our history forever.
Looking more into the future for the art program, we have received $200,000 to allocate to the studio art area, so that's really a big push to make this happen. And in the process of doing that, we're also working to get more community support, more community recognition, and sort of fuse the community back into the historic downtown Beaufort campus.
One of the things that I see and think is very exciting for this area is the possibility that we can begin to increase the numbers of baccalaureate prepared nurses that are caring for patients in our hospitals and healthcare facilities. And ultimately, that translates to a higher level of care.
And what I loved about this was that it forced us to think through the whole process of what should a university be? What should an English program, for instance, do? And we're small enough, I think we were able to design a really coherent program where everything fits together, where I know what the other teachers are teaching and they know what I'm teaching. And it all adds up into a product that we feel really good about.
I think everybody saw this bit in the paper about the headlines in the Beaufort Gazette about the upcoming art major. So that's actually stirred up a lot of interest.
And we have the 3 high schools, all of whom have excellent visual arts programs, Hilton Head High, Bluffton High, and Beaufort High as well. And I really feel that the students in these programs will be very excited about having a visual arts program in their own backyards.
It's one of those things again that gets everybody really interested, and it's just another thing that kind of binds us together, and that's
Gives
really
this place a real spirit for the students.
You know, when we came here, we were part of another university. We felt like we were part of another university, and many of us were comfortable with being part of another university, USC. But now USCB, we're the Sand Sharks. Now everybody knows that we're the Sand Sharks. So it shows that we are moving forward, and we as faculty and staff, we need to move forward.
We do. We are looking toward the future, and the vision we have to be a much richer institution in terms of our academic offerings, in terms of our student life, in terms of the services that we offer to students. So I'm a builder, and what we've worked on as a team is building the institution that is laying the foundation for what USCB will be in the